everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know I only uploaded 3 days ago, but I have a book that I want to talk about that has just been like running around my mind. Now I've been in a reading slump. I have not touched a book in I don't know how long. It's been a while. It hasn't been like years or anything. It's been like some months, okay? And that's like not very casual, cool, or chill at me. I am a big reader, and when I don't, I get kind of lost in the thought sauce, if you know what I mean. So, I have a book that I want to talk about, and that it was extremely relevant to me, and I feel like is relevant to a lot of people who have problems with abandonment and like really intense attachment to people who really aren't good for you, I guess. So the book I wanted to talk about is Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. Now, before you go and just pick this up and start reading it, it's very intense. I had to put it down a few times because like it was conjuring up so much feelings of like sickness, physical sickness, because of how much it pained me to see a character going through the things that I went through or could have very easily fallen into. And it was like I was reading about myself, and it was like making me really sick. Like it was making me feel like, oh my god, like I had to put it down a couple times, but I finished it in the span of like 3 days. I ate it up. Trigger warning, there's a lot of discussion on abuse. There's a lot of discussion on there's SA, there's a lot of very on-page abuse. So, and yes, it will make you upset. Like, trust me, this is not a light read. This is a really heavy read. But I wanted to do a talk on it. Never did that before. I guess I'm a little inspired by, goodness gracious, a little bump. I'm feeling pretty inspired by Kaylee from Read Rant Review. So shout out to Kaylee. I really love her videos. So if you ever want a rant review person to watch on YouTube, I highly recommend her. So anyway, Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. I'm going off of like quotes on my phone. Because I read it on the iPad, and I'm recording on the iPad, so I can't use it. So unfortunately, I just had to look up some quotes. So basically, we follow this character. Oh god. We follow this character and a woman, and she sees a man, and I think his name is Caesarion, something like that. Caesarion? I think it's Caesarion. I'm sorry. I don't really have it like written down. And she like instantly falls in love with him. She comments on how beautiful he is, and like how, like, not handsome, beautiful. And she becomes immediately infatuated with him and decides that she needs to have him for her own, to the detriment of herself, of course. They get together, they start dating. It's very clear that he's like cold, cut off, and is not ready for a relationship. He is still very much in love with his ex. She's so desperate for like love and attention that she just kind of ignores it, buries it down. But the shame and the guilt and anxiety of not being enough eats away at her, regardless that she chooses to be there. Because the thing is, when you what was so striking about this book was how clearly and how, what would be the word, like correctly, I guess, it was so true. It was so true, you know. It like the thought processes that the main character went through. I feel terrible that I don't remember her name. That she went through was like horrible, and it gets to the point where like later on in the book, she has a problem with using her physical body as like a means to get attention, or not a means to get attention per se. She gets the attention anyway, but as a means to feel close to people who don't really want her for anything else. And she talks about a lot how difficult how difficult it is to say no to people in those kind of situations, like not wanting to make them uncomfortable or come off dumb, come off like, I don't know. It's easier to say yes than it is to say no, and especially with someone who doesn't want to listen. You know, you don't want to disappoint them, and if that's all, if someone's, you can't make someone love you. I'm sorry, I'm like worried that my cats are about to start acting up. You can't make someone want you, even if you do like give them your physical self. Like it doesn't do anything. The thing is like in that moment it feels like there's something, and that there's someone there. Oh, it hurts. So, oh my gosh, there's a part and it says, living alone, I began to split apart from myself in a deeper and more grotesque way than ever before. I'm so sorry. I am not used to doing this. This is to talk about like the separation and like the fear of being like alone. It's horrible. Like that when you're alone, when I was alone, and I mean like I still had my partner, and he was just away. He was just gone. He was at work or whatever. I would feel this horrific pain. It was longing and yearning and just aching and anxiety, and it would just tear me apart whenever I was alone. We weren't fighting, nothing bad was happening, but the anxiety of just like not being able to be by myself was crippling. It had to have been so difficult for him too, because I needed the reassurance, and there was never enough. It's not possible to literally be in front of someone all the time and tell them you love them over and over again. I wouldn't believe it. It didn't matter how many times I was told that I was loved and cared about. It didn't click. It didn't stick. I couldn't believe it. And that's what's so messed up, is because I have been just hurt and disappointed so many times by people who are supposed to like unconditionally care about me, that when someone comes along and they are really nice to me and they do care, it doesn't compute. Like it's my brain has like a flaw, which it's under control now, but where you don't understand. It's like impossible to get through this like brick wall of fear and anxiety and sense of unworthiness, even though you so desperately cling to the idea that somebody will love you unconditionally. But when there's somebody there, you're so afraid of being let down, but you're too deep, you're emotionally too invested to not leave, but to do anything else. So you just end up clinging to them, begging them not to leave when they have to go to work. You know what I mean? When they have to go do something, because it feels like your heart is being ripped out of your chest. Do you relate? Or was that just insane? I do not struggle as much as with that as I used to. And the only thing that got me there, I would love to say that, like, okay, I did kind of get there myself. I had to tell myself over and over that it was okay, and that I had to, like, prove to myself that bad things are not going to happen when I'm by myself, and that it's okay to be by myself sometimes. And I'd have to try to just wait. and wait and get through as many, the hours. I'd have to get through the 8 hours waiting. And that was the worst part, was the waiting. And just knowing, and the dread of knowing that I was going to be alone again, and that it was going to be a fight for my life every day. Completely exhausting, awful. I'm really sorry if you deal with that. I understand, okay? I've lived in that hell. I know. Explaining it doesn't give it justice. If I was telling somebody this, they look at me funny. They're like, what? Because I asked someone else, and I'm like, you can't stand to not, you can be away from your partner and you don't feel like you're dying. And they're like, no, I like a little me time sometimes. Didn't make any sense. Didn't compute. The idea of that just sounded horrific. You know what I mean? So here's the thing. Here's another quote. I could not be alone happily, and because I knew this was a sign of weakness, I forced myself to endure it for as long as I could before breaking, although sometimes I thought I would go mad. Oh, God. I used to do this. See, this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, even though I knew that logically things had to get done, I couldn't be with someone all the time. It was impossible. And sometimes I would know, like, I would logically understand, like, hey, this isn't like a normal, healthy behavior that I'm doing. These are not normal, not okay thoughts, but like these are stemming from fear, and I shouldn't be afraid when I'm in a relationship. Like, I should never be holding on to fear, especially a fear of like being alone and being abandoned. You should not have to fear being abandoned. You should not have to fear your partner. Whatever, that means, fear of them, fear for them, fear whatever. Like, you can be worried, but to have a genuine, like, constant pent up anxiety about like being by yourself is unbearable. Oh my God. There was this other one. Okay, it was talking about pleasure not being pleasure. So this is the next one. The pleasure wasn't often pleasure. It was release from pain. It was binding yourself and feeling good when the bandages came off. It was cutting a hole in your leg so it could heal. I had suffered, and I had made the suffering into something I could consider good. I made it so that suffering was a kind of work. This is, do you understand? Like, I'm literally like reading a handful of quotes, but this book was a mirror to what was going on in my head during like the worst times in my life. Like, I was horrified of just being by myself all the time. And pain wasn't often pleasure, it was release. Pleasure wasn't often pleasure, it was release from pain. I didn't understand what happiness was. I understood happiness as not being, oh my God, I understood happiness as not being like wanting to die. I understood happiness only in the context of sadness. It was not its own thing. It was a detachment from the pain. And I would often, like, there would be times when it would get so bad that I would force myself into a deeper depression. Like, I would force myself to be miserable. I would feed into depressive thoughts. I would feed into the pain because I knew that if my base level of depression is here and I bury myself and I force myself all the way down here, getting back up to here feels like the best thing. It feels like that until you realize that there's anywhere above this. You know what I mean? you don't ever get here. So this is like being the happiest you've ever been. And the only way to get here is to go down here. This is the only way to go up, is you get even worse. Suffering became my only way of feeling not useful, but it felt like the only thing I could do, so I might as well do it right. Oh God, this sounds crazy. This sounds... oh my God. If you get it, you get it. And I feel like that is the stupidest thing I could have possibly said. If you get it, you get it. But there is no other way. Like, I can sit and tell this to somebody. Like, somebody will probably watch this who doesn't understand and doesn't deal with this, and they're going to be like, whoa, what's up with that? But if you do not understand, can you just for a second pause and think and wonder, if you held on to these feelings, if you held on to these beliefs, and this was the truth of your life, could you imagine living through that? And if you can't imagine it for 5 seconds, and this is people's lives. This is people's whole lives. This is people's everyday. This was me for years. For most of my life, I attached myself to people like a leech, and just, oh God, I couldn't stand it. Like, it was like I had to be with someone to be myself. I didn't have an identity of my own. All I was a comparison to someone else. They liked the color purple. Well, I don't mind the color purple. I like it too. They show me something. Hey, I like video games. I like this game. Well, I like this game too. I love that game. I wasn't a person so much. I was a reflection of an amalgamation? Is that the word, amalgamation? Of everyone who's been in my life. And I think everyone's like that. Everyone takes bits and pieces from every person that they've ever met. That's just how people are. But the thing was, I didn't have anything. Once I was alone, the hollowness and the realization that I was absolutely nothing just would crush me. And I'm sorry. Oh, here's one. I envy women oh my God, I'm so sorry. I suck at reading quotes. I'm just like, my brain is like going and going. So like, okay. I envy women who are removed. I never really had that luxury. True. My mother is the type of woman, she's a complete opposite from me. She used to kind of shun me or say it was a problem that I had emotions. Like, that I had emotions that were so strong. I remember being like really young, like 5, and when the ASPCA commercial came on, I would cry because it just hurt me so bad that there were like animals suffering. And I remember her being angry with me because I was so prone to emotions. Insane. That's insane that she did that, okay? Like, it was like a problem. Like, I would be banned from the TV over that. And my mother doesn't really have emotions. Like, I'm not saying this like myself. Like, she's told me, like, she doesn't understand feelings the way I do, and that she just completely has locked off any type of negative emotion. But then again, she doesn't have positive emotions either. She is really just a husk of a person who just floats through life. I don't even know. It's kind of sad. No, it's not kind of sad. It's really sad. Like, I have a lot of like, I don't know if it's really sympathy, remorse, a lot of maybe it's just sadness, a lot of sadness for how she coped was by completely locking herself in a box where no emotion, positive or negative, could get in. And because of that, she did a lot of really bad things because she was on drugs all the time, which also affected her ability to experience emotions. One of them being empathy, sympathy, anything like that. Any kind of emotion really wasn't there. So when you have someone like that, they end up doing really crappy things. And it was really a weakness to her that I had heightened emotions because she didn't understand it was weakness to her. And I used to think to myself when I was younger, like, why I used to like shame myself for being so emotional, because I viewed it as a weakness as well, because all I did was hurt myself. Like, all I did was get hurt. Like, what kind of life is it? Like, how weak am I cry over things that I shouldn't even care about. If someone doesn't want to, you know, whatever, I should just completely cut them off. Or, you know, I should, I don't know, make people do what I want. Like, okay, my mom is kind of crazy, actually. But in a different way. I'm not sure how I came from such a detached woman, but I used to kind of envy her a little bit. Or not so much envy as I wished I wasn't myself. Because it was so painful having like so many emotions that I was never taught how to deal with any of them. So they just completely took me over. Because unlike her, she just kind of told me to always stuff them down and to get over it. I can't. It eats away at me. It's impossible. It's like asking me not to freaking, I don't know, eat. Like, I'll die. Like, the pain, it's immense. It's... Okay, sorry. Do you understand why I'm getting like so riled up about this? Here's another quote. I pleaded with him to see how small I really was. I said through my huddling and hiding that I was nothing, and I was happy to be nothing if nothing was what pleased him best. In my relationship, or in any relationships I've ever had, I did try to make myself whatever I thought anyone else wanted to be. I would, and if people didn't want me to be a certain thing, then I would change. I would have, I don't know, I would have did a lot of horrible things if my partner asked me to. And I was in an abusive relationship at one time. Really horrible time. I was really young, so I mean, not really young, I was like a teenager. Like, you know what I mean? And that time was a really, really dark time in my life, and I remember trying to be whatever I could just to not be alone, even though I was clearly unwanted. I was just convenient, I guess, convenient to have around. And I made myself miserable because I thought that that would be better than being alone. It really hurts looking back at that time in my life. I was just a kid. It pains me to think that there was any... If I went through it, I know some other poor girl out there did too. And that's what breaks my heart, is that it's one thing for me to suffer. It's another thing knowing that there's other people out there going through what I go through, and it hurts because I was so alone and I felt so alone. And with coming on YouTube and like sharing my story and stuff and just kind of yapping about stuff on the internet, I've met so many people who understand what I'm saying. And let me tell you, that's what I needed. That's what I needed to like save my life, was understanding, knowing like it. And people were like, you know, that someone tells you like, oh, you're not alone with what you're going through. Like, there's other people who feel the way you do. That feels impossible because I haven't met them. You know, I haven't seen them. I haven't heard anyone talk about this and like how horrible it is. And it's one thing to have borderline. You can, not everything is associated with a diagnosis. A lot of things just come from experience. Like, borderline personality disorder is a largely like 90% trauma related personality disorder, and it is recoverable, but it's not, you can't take medicine for it. Like, you really have to train yourself and learn how to, I don't know, manage yourself. And I get bad. Like, I get bad. I'm never gonna escape this. And it's not fair. But I didn't say it was. It's not, but I live to learn, and I live to prove to others that they can live too. And that is the thing that kept me going, was that I can be proof that someone else can make it. God, I went through hell. And I look back and I wonder, and I'm like, if I had to do it again, I don't think I could. I can never do it again. And I think myself every day, my younger years, where the child that should not have had to do that, should not have had to, oh my God. I think back to the like kid who dealt with what I had to deal with, and I think like it wasn't right. Looking back now, oh, it just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart because like I think of just, it was just a kid. It's just a kid. And oh God, I really hope that you don't, I hope you don't understand, but if you do, then I'm here. I'm here, and I'm sorry, and you deserved better. You deserve better. Okay, sorry, I just need to take a breath there. I was getting a little... Okay, one more. I wish I could unburden myself, but I couldn't verbalize what was happening, because doing so would bring it to existence. So far, it was all taking place in my head with no verification from an outside party. And as long as I kept it that way, I could suppress it. The thing is that after reading the story... Oh, this is the part where she's talking about, like, him... I think him cheating on her, like she's getting, which he very clearly was. Like, he did not love her. He was still very much in love with his ex-girlfriend and was very cold to her and didn't like her, but she just kind of like kept it in her head and kind of like was like, you know, even if that is happening, I can't be without him, so I'm just gonna ignore it, you know what I mean? Which he did end up saying, we're breaking up. And then he changed his mind, like, after she texted him after like 3 months, I think, and she was like, miss you. It wasn't like that, but it was like, I miss you so much, I love you. And he was like, I miss you too, which there's no going back from that. And then the main character, she ends up like really destroying herself and like sleeping with a lot of people. That's awful. That's something that I don't understand, but I feel like my mother, strangely enough, would. I'm not even saying this like in a bad way. She is also someone who can't be alone, but I don't know if it's in the same way that I can't be alone. Because I think we have a lot of similar trauma. I think we have a lot of similar trauma, but it really manifested in some different ways. She does okay, I shouldn't be like talking about it like that, but whenever I was growing up, it was always like a man, and my mother would very often like brag to me about like how she's never had a boyfriend she didn't cheat on. Not a flex. But so I never understood that. I thought that if you're with somebody, like, you're with them. That's your whole life. You know what I mean? If I'm with somebody, that's my life, you know? And when the character in this book did end up like cheating, which she was being treated horribly, don't get me wrong. And like I understand why she did the things she did, because I was obviously reading her thought process, and it was all very horrible, but it gives me a new light into like what kind of things are happening when that kind of stuff happens, because I think okay, cheating's bad. Let's just put that out there. Cheating is not a good thing. It causes trauma it literally causes emotional trauma, like not to the person that you're cheating on. It leaves a scar that is unhealable for the rest of their life. Like, you should never, you're giving a person like lifelong anxiety now, and I think that should not be taken lightly. But I wonder if like I'm seeing something in, I don't know, I guess that I can't really speak on that because I don't understand that part. But I do understand needing approval, and I do understand like if, you know, a lot of men do, or not a lot, but there's some men out there who do just kind of want to sleep with you, and you know, that's all they'll want. And if you don't have any other option, you have no other way, and that's the only way you can, I guess, get attention from people, and you struggle with thoughts like these, like I guess you have no choice. Like, not no choice, but that's what happens, or at least that's what happens in the book. And it's really heartbreaking because she's not happy about anything. I don't know. This book really made me, I guess, like, kind of go back in time to when I couldn't stand I had so much anxiety about myself and like who I was or who I wasn't, if I was deserving of love, if I wasn't, like I wasn't. I believed, or I am, but I believed I wasn't. And it's just, oh god, it hurts so much to read because it's just the whole book is just suffering. And it doesn't have a happy ending. It has like no, it doesn't have a happy ending. It's okay. Like she is kind of numb, I guess. She leaves that guy who sucked, I guess. And I don't know, I would recommend it. Like I do recommend reading it but only if you want to feel what that character is feeling. Like, to some people it might just look desperate, but honestly it is. That's why it's called Acts of Desperation. It is this yearning, this like survival, this like, it's like survival. It's like you're desperate for survival. It's like a starving animal. It's a good comparison. It's like a starving animal where like you have nothing. It's either that or die. You know, you're gonna eat the rotten apple before you eat the rocks. You know what I mean? Or you starve. You're gonna eat the rotten apple before you starve. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It was a lot. And I wanted to get the video out because, like, I read it, I finished reading it, like, a couple days ago, and I started up another book, and I wanted to make sure I talked about it because of how big of an impact it had on me. Because it did. It had a very big impact on me, and it kind of messed me up. But also, I guess, gave me more understanding of... Because the author had to have understood, because there's no way that somebody would be able to write about it like that in such a clear and concise and correct, relatable way if you didn't understand. Anyway. Book review. Woo! Okay. That was kind of it. Please, if you have any, like, book recommendations, drop them in the comments. I do always like looking for more book recs. Right now, all my book recommendations come from freaking ChatGPT, and I'm like, hey. So maybe, I don't know, I would appreciate some human book recommendations. Anyway, I hope you guys are alright. Doing good. Doing chill. I need to go drink some tea. I'm a little, like, remembering and walking through that story again, like, in my head is it's kind of stirring up some feelings. I'm not playing when I say this is a very tough read. Please mind your peace. Keep yourself, you know, if you are not ready, there is no whatever, you know, there's no pressure to read this. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my feelings. And, yep, I'm gonna go, relax, get some dishes done, I guess. Listen to a book. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye.